Welcome to the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. We're two friends taking an explorative journey into all things astrology and a little woo. I'm Christine. I'm a creative, intuitive counselor and coach, and astrology enthusiast. We Pisces like to wear all the hats. You can find me on IG at The Dreamy Piscean.
And I'm Shelby. I am a licensed social worker, a big feelings person, and a light skeptic. Here to learn all the astrological things. You can find me on Twitter at Shelby Tweeting, and being a Cancer rising on Instagram at Shelby Cooking Things. Welcome to our show. Hey y'all. Welcome back to the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Christine.
And we are back, and I'm really high, and this is going to be a great episode. I'm so excited about it.
I am down. we are high times over here.
Yay. I can't wait. I kind of forgot. It had been a really long time since I had done the very first intro to the podcast, and I was like, what do I say after that?
What do I say?
It's been too long.
How do we do this?
Her brain has been off lately. Okay, anyway, how was your week, Christine?
Oof. Well, it's definitely had its ups and downs.
Man.
But right now we up because we're enjoying a nice flower. So we're up.
We're up. If it's up, then it's stuck.
It's up and it's stuck. We gonna be up and stuck right now. How was your
the whole
week?
episode?
Yes.
My week feels like it was a blur, and here's why. Okay, so last weekend, as many a listener will know, I love a Taurus. I love a Taurus. I love many Taurians. A lot of people have significant Taurus placements who are big parts of my life.
Yes.
Christine's one of them. But last weekend was like all my favorite Taurians' birthdays, all like at the same time. So here's what happened to me. I had one night of fancy dinners with one Taurus, and then I had another fancy night of dinners with another Taurus.
Yes.
They love their like little aesthetic birthday moments, you know? Well, okay, one of the Tauruses I was hanging out with actually hates birthdays, but like we were not playing that game. We were like trying to make a big deal out of their birthday because of it.
Right. Yes.
But anyway. So last weekend was like big fun party weekend for me. And then it was Monday, and on Monday I was like, I am broke and I need to get my life together. So
also Taurus vibes.
Even though also Taurus vibes. Also, I'm not gonna lie, that was actually like Tuesday, because Monday I was like still hungover from the whole weekend. Also, I think I got food poisoning at some point this weekend. It was not just the party time that did me in. I think I actually had the stomach flu for a full day because I had it, and then I ended up giving it to my roommate. Or I don't know if that's how it happened, or if we both ate the same thing. Like, we still didn't figure it out. We both had it, but I had it first, and then she had it the next day. And then someone else that we hung out with also got it. So it was like,
no.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the food. I don't know if there was like a virus or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was bad. So I took Monday off work to deal with that.
Food poisoning, stomach viruses, all of that. That's
gross, right?
Yeah, because
that shit had not happened to me in such a long time. That had not happened to me in forever. I'll spare the audience all the details, but it was gross.
We know what happened. We know.
Right. Exactly. So yeah,
and then I work with like to talk about those things in detail, but
Oh my god, you get a lot of people's weird poop stories and like weird,
literally
weird, literal shit talk.
It's not just one person. It's like a lot of them. I'm like, I walked into a conversation the other day, and I'm like, oh, and I backed right on back, like, oh, I gotta go. Like, I'm not. I'm
good on that actually.
No, thank you. I'm good. Like, I'm cool.
It's not like I'm afraid to talk about poop. It's like part of your life, but like you don't have to like. You don't have to, you know?
I love it. I'm like, why we talk about this so much? Y'all obsessed with it.
That's weird. It's weird.
Anyway,
that's gross, and I don't like it. I don't know. That was mostly it. So, Sunday I started feeling a little better, but I still took Monday off work just to like chill out or whatever. And then, honestly, the rest of my week has just been, it was like, I got sick over the weekend, but then my roommate got sick, like, a few days later, so then I was, like, making sure she was okay and good, like, it was, I don't know, it just feels like this week has gone by very quickly, and I didn't get anything done. But I'm on this trajectory of, like, I gotta, like, get my shit together, I gotta, like, you know, stop spending money. Yes. I'm like, I worked on a budget the other day. I've been a little, you know, been trying to be a little more productive, a little more grounded for the summer. You know, we're figuring it out.
Look at that. It's very, look, we're going to talk about the transits, but yeah, I mean, look at what you're doing, getting your things together, working on a budget, getting in line.
Mm-hmm.
I see
trying.
This. Yes. The energy, it's there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm excited to hear about the transits this week. And yeah, I think we have a good like episode in general. But do you want to do co-star?
Yeah, let's get in the co-star.
Okay. So Christine, what does your co-star say today?
My co-star says, from now on, every moment with a friend is sacred.
Ooh. Okay. How is this making you feel?
You know, I read this earlier, so, you know, I usually wait to read my co-star, typically on show days. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. You want a genuine reaction, you know?
Right, yeah. But I read this earlier and I was like, wow, okay. I mean, I think it just put me in a space to just really be mindful in the time that I'm with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Be present.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get into a scary place, like what's going to happen, you know. But I really, you know, I think it put me in that space of, okay, I need to kind of slow down in those times and really cherish those moments more. You know, feel the space of those moments. So yeah, that's where it put me.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's like, okay, all right, noted.
Everybody needs that reminder from time to time, you know.
Right? Yeah. True. Do lawn games, sock hops, and drive-in theater. You know?
It's giving very 1950s, you know? It's giving...
We love a sock.
Yeah.
No, you know, I miss the, when I lived in Memphis, there's a drive-in theater that's like in the city. And, you know, they have, you know, you get a double feature.
Yeah.
Just, you know, you go out there sometimes. It's not like a all the time thing, but you just, you know, occasionally go to drive-in, see some movies, kick it. I miss that. I know that there's a drive-in somewhere outside of Nashville. But yeah, you know, it's like I don't want to have to drive to go to the drive-in. I just want it to be there.
Right.
It's a fun little chill activity. I guess it, you know, appeals to my tourist vibes. Like we could chill in the car, in our car.
Yes.
And watch
in the comfort of our own space.
To ourselves.
I could maybe smoke a J in here if I wanted to.
It feels my tourist vibes. Yes, my Pisces vibes.
Yeah.
Like keep it secluded.
Yeah.
You know, 12th house.
My little Cancer rising is like, oh my god, I can pack snacks.
Yes, snacks, weed, like all the things. A great night.
Yeah.
So
oh my god, I want to go to the drive-in so bad now.
Yes.
Man, somebody take me on a date. Somebody take me on a
I'm
goddamn
telling you,
date
it's
to
such
the
a cute
to
little
drive-in.
date. Yes,
It's
and
adorable.
sometimes,
I want
you
it.
can make out.
Oh my god,
Hold
that sounds
hands
so
or,
fun.
maybe fuck around. Keep
Ooh.
the windows tinted, tinted
Take your
windows.
very first shot. Christine's Aries Venus is out.
It's out, y'all. It's like,
She's like, it would be so cute, or we could fuck.
We could fuck. It's a fuck around. It's like, you don't have to go all the way.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Maybe I'm the problem. I'm the problem.
You're
oh
the
no.
problem.
Oops.
Okay.
Oops, I did it again. Okay.
Now, don'ts. Oops.
Yes. What are our don'ts?
Our don'ts are in crowd, archetypes, and blind trust. Well.
Ooh, okay. Well,
this.
That's very Neptunian.
Right, blind trust is hard anyway, but okay, no archetypes, no in crowd. I'm not really an in crowd girl. Yeah, I don't know.
No,
so
we like to be a little weird.
Yeah, we like the weird people. We like the different folks. Like, I'm cool with the in crowd, but it's not. I don't have to be in the crowd. Like, just be adjacent to it.
Right.
Like, hey, I see y'all over there. I like you. You're cool, but I also like these people over here. So I'm just over here in the.
No reason to choose sides.
In the middle, right? Pisces.
Right.
There you go.
In the middle.
We love everybody.
All of it. We welcome it all.
Yep. So anyways, what does your co-star say, Shelby?
What does my co-star say? My co-star today says, do not be afraid to state the obvious. Which, I feel like that gave me that feels like good advice. Like, don't be afraid to just say the obvious thing. Because I feel like what is obvious, I don't even think about this, but what is obvious to me is definitely not obvious to a lot of people. So sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't need to say that. Everybody knows that. But then you say it and someone's like, oh, I didn't know that. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, we had a nice little exchange there.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm always, I don't know. I think I as the Piscean, I'm always naive enough to really give other people the doubt, or the benefit of the doubt. I always am going to assume that the other person in the room is smarter than I am, unless they really actively prove otherwise.
Right. Unless I just know that you are dumb as hell.
Right.
I generally assume that you're pretty smart.
I have confidence in other people, probably more than I should.
I feel that.
So
I give people more
that
credit
felt
than I should.
Yeah. Yes.
Christine's
probably hearing me say that and being like, I don't know, you're pretty judgy. Because I am really judgy sometimes, It was just like, well, maybe.
Hey, there's a certain level of judgment that is appropriate, right? Like, you need discernment. Yes. Discernment about things.
And you know what? I'm in my discernment era right now. I'm really trying to set boundaries and stuff.
That's a good era to be in, honey.
I'm going to write that discernment era. That's going to be an episode title.
Yes, discernment era. They're like, oh, this is serious.
I like that.
We're getting serious about our lives here, people. We're getting our lives together. It's Taurus. It's Taurus everything season. We're coming out of Taurus season, but it's another season of Taurus. We got Jupiter in Taurus. We got, is Mercury in Taurus? I think somebody else in Taurus. Taurus is hanging around. So there's a lot of Taurus energy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're getting it together. Discerning.
Yeah. Doing my best. I love it.
Work that skill, girl.
Okay. So on that note, my do's this week are endorphins. I got some endorphins in today. Didn't even mean it like that. I didn't even mean it like that. The laugh. I was just going to move right past it. Endorphins.
just keep moving past it.
Drive the boat. Okay, endorphins, fizzy drinks, which I love a fizzy drink, and vanities.
Yeah. Oh.
So to me it sounds like a sexy time. We
Does.
got a little prosecco.
I was just gonna say it does, but
Yeah. We got a little prosecco. We got our endorphins running high. We're a little vain. We're like checking ourselves out in the mirror.
we're in the mirror.
You know,
We're in the mirror.
yeah. It's great. Okay, but here's the thing though. My don'ts are, the very first one is melodrama, and I'm like, I feel like all of that could be like a little melodramatic, but it doesn't have to be. Like it can be lighter than that. It can be bubblier than that.
It don't have to be no. Okay.
I do love to be melodramatic though. That also feels a little Neptunian. Anyway, so my notes are melodrama, projecting, and protagonism, which really are things that I should probably avoid all the time.
Protagonism?
Protagonism.
No.
So it's like I'm not the main character this week, I guess.
True. So you just be the background character at all times. Like, we're just always either the background, or are you the antagonist? Like, I'm not sure what we're going for when we're not the protagonist.
Right. I don't either, but I guess we'll figure it out.
But just don't be it, so.
I'm trying my best. Look, off to the side today.
Well, girl, I think you're the protagonist today. I don't know what to tell you.
Can you be a little more of a, like, do you have any big main character stories today do you want to take over this week? Like, I don't know.
So would you just like to do the episode? I know I did the episode, but would you just like to, just interpret it and go with it where you want to go?
That would be such a weird podcast vibe if, like, one of us wrote the outline and the other one was just like, okay, here's my notes. I need you to read this and just figure it out. And, like...
I need you to take this in. Go with it where... Yeah, just take it. That would be really interesting, actually.
Maybe we should do, like, an April Fool's episode where we do that. I guess it's past April 1st. It's past April 1st, but next year. Yeah. Next year. Maybe we'll have a sponsorship by then. I don't know why it was so hard for me to say sponsorship right there.
Sponsorship.
Yeah. Anyway, do we want to take a break and come back with some relatable content?
All right, y'all. We are back with the relatable content. So,
hey.
I guess I'll jump in with a few things. We'll start off with some astronomy news. So we're talking planets, but we're just talking planets, right? We're not getting to theology, we're just theonomy today. So a Big Daddy Saturn officially has more moons than any other planets in our solar system. Let's say that. Because that's all I guess we know. Did it just
pull in some new ones, or did they just discover a new one, or what happened?
So, my phone has been blown up. I don't know if this has happened to other people, if I just pay so much attention to planet shit that, like, my phone just feeds me stuff. And I think that it's, like, a big deal.
I think so, yeah.
Because I'm like, is this like, do other people know about this? I don't know. But I had several notifications literally the last week about this Saturn moon situation. So the astronomers out there had recently discovered new moons to us on Jupiter. And so in February, Jupiter was actually named the planet with the most moons. So now, just here a few months later, they're they're out here again looking, I guess, studying these planets. And they discovered 60 plus new, or again, additional moons in Saturn's orbit, bringing its total to 145 moons.
145? Oh my god, I didn't realize it was that many. I feel like, yeah, that must be like somewhat recently, because I remember a lot fewer than that when I learned astronomy in school. Like in elementary school.
Not in elementary school, yes.
Have they found a lot of new ones recently? Because, like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention that day, but...
Listen, those cameras and those telescopes are just, getting very powerful, apparently, and they have, 60, like, how just in one fell swoop, like 60 plus additional moons.
So many.
So many moons. So, I felt like that was some big poly energy, got the moon, which is like, women,
sexy.
Like your wives or like the moms or whatever. Like, it was very poly. I was like, look at Saturn. Look at you.
Ooh. Big Daddy Saturn.
Big
with
Daddy.
all of his many partners.
Many
Daddy.
moons, okay? Talk about it. So, that's our astronomy news this week. Moving on to transits, which I just really have one transit to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But Jupiter has moved into Taurus from Aries. So I believe, I don't know the exact amount of time off the top of my head that Jupiter with the orbit time is, but I feel like it's like a year or so.
I was going to say, it's pretty long, right? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. And so I have some tweets from Joshology at Vibe with Josh. We see a lot of content from him. He has some great content out there. But it says that Jupiter will be in Taurus until May 2024. So, yeah, about a year from now. Jupiter will move on. But Jupiter is our planet of good fortune, blessings, wisdom, expansion, growth, travel, and optimism, right? So, we love talking about Jupiter because Jupiter, is always bringing us some good stuff, we think. It's bringing us excess and abundance, and, we're like, ooh, yes, Jupiter, yes. We love Jupiter. So... the house that Taurus occupies for you in your birth chart is going to get a major fresh start in bringing in stability. Do you know where Jupiter is? Or where Taurus in your birth chart?
In my birth chart? That's no, I don't actually. Let me look really quick. I can pull up the Sanctuary app.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm like, off the top of my head, I know that Taurus splits the 12th and the first house. So I think it's the ruler of my 12th house. But yeah, it splits those houses. But like my Mars is in Taurus, and my North Node is in Taurus, and those are in the 12th house. But then there's something. Oh, no, there's nothing in the first house. Never mind. There's no planet or anything in the first house. But there is, part of Taurus goes into my first house, so it's kind of a double hit there.
Yeah. So my 11th house is like kind of split Gemini Taurus.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But that's, I think Taurus is the ruler of that house for me. Like I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
What cusp? So you'll know by the beginning cusp, wherever the 0 is, or if you can see the direction of the numbers, that wherever the 0 starts will be what rules that house, if that makes sense.
Yes.
We'll
not
figure
really.
it out.
I'm too high for that.
was like, I don't know if I'm explaining this the way I need to, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
No, you probably are, but can I take it in? No, I cannot.
Like,
and that's a me problem.
What you're talking about right now.
My brain, I already said
it's
not working.
No, I don't know what that means, but no, I don't know what that means for your brain right now. But Mercury, we know that retrograde has recently ended. So Mercury is now direct in Taurus. So we've got Mercury and Jupiter in Taurus right now. And now, again, we are recording. It is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. This episode will air on Monday. So this transit will be over. But we do have a new moon in Taurus tomorrow on Friday.
Yes.
So once this airs, we will be coming out of the new
future.
moon.
Right.
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 In our future,
if the
when this airs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of this energy is giving us, as Josh says, if it's not fucking, feeding, or financing you, get it out your life.
Fucking, feeding, or financing. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So, I love it.
We got some things to figure out here with some folks. Because,
Look, what did you say earlier? Christine's being fed some of the time, so...
Oh, dang it. I am getting fed. You get this thing.
You did say that.
Damn it,
yes.
Shelby.
Fucking
I was trying to kick somebody out, and Shelby reminded me that they are feeding me.
I'm sorry. You can't. We just talked about that.
We just talked about it. Man, okay. Okay, all right.
Now, I want to find out how to get somebody to finance me, okay?
Listen, that's what I'm... Help with that.
Help!
Help.
Help!
I need somebody. Please.
Help!
Finance my life. That's our reality show. Pisces, Finance My Life.
Oh my God. Finance My Life is also an episode title option. It's going on the list. I'm typing it right now.
Woo.
Discernment. I just said discernment. Did you hear me? Oh my God. Discernment era, aka Finance My Life.
Finance My Life. Yes. So y'all, we're in this abundant energy, but we need to find a sense of stability and security. So that's what we're learning during this time. So now what he says here is it makes sense if you're in the process of moving, a divorce, starting or ending a job, just graduated, just started a new business, or finding more ways to bring in income. Jupiter is going to bring us wisdom to know and do better for growth. So this we all up in this energy, It's like, all right.
Okay, that tracks with what I was saying at the beginning of the show. I do feel this right now. Yeah.
Yes. I'm telling you, I was like, that's the energy that's going on. Like, I see it. Mm-hmm. So Taurus represents our values and self-esteem. It's important to pay attention to what you value in your life and how you give to it with this transit. Value your mind, body, aura, energy, mindset, friends, family, lover, and health. Show these things and yourself gratitude. This Taurus is all about, Taurus, we got to work on ourselves too, so, definitely do those things.
I think my horoscope yesterday said something about, showing gratitude, and I was like, oh, this is so nice. Yeah, totally.
So it's very on point. So yeah, our Jupiter in Taurus, of course, we are loving the abundant energy, but we're really loving this abundant energy of growth and really loving on ourselves and the people in our lives and just, let's grow together, y'all.
I love it. It's nice. There's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, Shelby, I should have asked you before we jumped on here, but do you want to do the book club reading, or just not reading, the book club updates, or would you like me to do the charts reading first?
Okay, it's up to you. I don't mind to do the book club update right now, and I am really excited to hear the chart update. So, do we want to, let me just get the book club update out of the way real quick, because I wrote a lot here, but I don't think I'm going to say every single thing, and it'll go quickly.
Don't rush, but yes. Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Okay.
It's like, do not rush, it's fine.
Thanks. Sorry. It's that Gemini moon. Like, I'm always trying to rush through things. I'm just like, no, it's cool. We've got plenty of time.
No, take your time.
Okay. Well, hopefully y'all have all been kind of following along with our book club. We're moving slow, right? So, you've got time to catch up. You've got time to reread. You've got time to process. But I was just going to do a really quick run through of chapter 3 if you're still following along. So I think part of the reason that we recommended this book initially is just because it's a good place for people who are super beginners, but also there is some slightly more, there's a few concepts that I'm like, oh, this is new for me, right? And yeah. I feel like I'm getting more well versed. I'm certainly, we're all on our journeys, but
yeah.
Anyway, but a lot of this chapter did feel like review, because it was just talking a little bit I'm talking about it like it's a class, it feels like professors in session right now. But anyway, a lot of it was review because it's just about the elements, and we've done an episode about the 4 elements and all those kind of different energies. So, I'm not going to talk about that too much in the podcast, but there was a few things that I did find really interesting about it. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're following along, I would love to hear, what does our audience think? What parts did you like? What parts did you not like? Did you learn anything? Give me some feedback. Yeah, tell us what you learned, and that's how you... Oh my God. Have you ever... Sorry, tangent real quick. Have you ever had to do a work training where you have to go in and you make little discussion board posts or whatever?
Yes.
And I'm just what if we're making all of our audience participants do a little book club post for every
right. Right.
Every chapter you finish, this is how I know you read the book, okay?
Right. Yes. Well, you know what? Speaking of, now this is again just for our Spotify listeners, but I've started messing around with putting polls and questions into our Spotify. So if you're on Spotify and you're listening to the episode, look at the episode page. I've usually put in a question. I try to remember too. Sometimes I forget, and so it's just what did you think about the episode? But sometimes I try to ask a question specific to the episode, and occasionally I'll stick a poll in there. So if you guys are paying attention, go on there and vote or answer our little questions. But yes, we're giving you homework. Answer this blurb.
Homework.
What are your thoughts?
I love it. Oh my God. Yeah, even if it's just one random thought, this is how I know you listened to the whole episode.
Right.
What's your thought?
I'm gonna start asking to send also, emojis on posts. I thought about it for last time about our Eiffel Tower. Well, I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God, yes. Someone sent a little... Is there an Eiffel Tower emoji? There is,
There's
right?
not, but there is a baguette emoji, and I was definitely going to say post the baguette
Not
emojis.
the baguette.
So we know you heard the episode.
Okay, you know what? I don't care if that was 2 episodes ago. I don't care if that was 2 episodes ago. If you're listening to this right now, hopefully you listened to the episode that we're talking about where we talked about Eiffel Towers. And you'll understand why that was funny.
Yes.
I don't know. Or maybe it'll be oh my God, I'm not listening to this trash anymore. But if you're listening now...
If y'all didn't listen to the episode with Monte and that sexy voice, come on now.
Oh my God, come on. ASMR. That man needs to record some ASMR. Such a soothing voice. I noticed you put in the episode description, buttery smooth, and my
buttery
goodness.
Smooth. Listen, when I listened to the episode back, I was like, oh, hello.
Having a moment.
And I was sitting right next to him. like, oh, I'm getting hot.
Such a good voice. Such a good voice.
Such a great voice. Great everything.
Speaking of which, oh my gosh. Okay, so I know I'm just like completely interrupting the book club update, which I will continue with the book club update. But we also, I don't want to forget to say that we're going to have a special guest next week too.
Yes, that's right. Look at us. Look.
And he also has a cool voice.
Yes.
So I'm just like, oh my goodness, yes, we're going to have like good guests, like a couple in a row. I hope y'all like it when we do that because it's so fun for us.
We love
guests.
Yes.
So yeah, just wait and see who our next week's guest is. And I guess I'll get back to the book club updates. Okay.
Okay, yes, back to the book club. But that was a fun detour.
Thank you so much. I try my best. If I'm gonna do it, I try to make it worthwhile. Okay, so this whole chapter was sort of about the 4 elements. So likely you kind of already know what those things are, but if not, like go listen to some past episodes. I can't remember which one, but we did do an episode specifically just on the elements.
Yes.
But of course, they're, fire, air, earth, and water. They're all kind of integrally connected and, expressed in all these different areas of our lives. So that is a lot about what this chapter talked about. One of the things that I thought was really cool that they did was they, like, made these parallels to other instances of 4 in, like, other kind of traditions or whatever. So they talked about like the 4 Christian Gospels and the 4 Noble Truths in Buddhism and how those all kind of represent the 4 elements in some way.
Yes.
There's also something called the 4 humors in like medieval medicine, and I didn't do a whole lot of research into what that was, but it explains it in the book. So yeah, I don't know. I just always think that that's interesting when there's like, it could just be coincidental, but there's the ways that certain things are divided up in certain cultures. Like everything kind of reflects astrology.
It all just reflects that these are all connected things. Like we're trying to make all this so different, but like a lot of this is really just layered right on top of the other. Like a lot of these religions and systems, like all of these things are very closely related, really. But we're trying to make them like they're these big differences. But yeah, all this is linked together.
Yeah. Everything is everything. Mm-hmm. I start getting into my, everything's connected. Have you heard that TikTok sound? It's just like some old lady just saying everything's connected, like over and over again.
I love it. I mean,
and it truly is, right?
We're Pisces. Hello, we're interconnectedness. Like it's one of our traits.
Look,
like we're trying to
water
teach
sign.
Y'all. Exactly, we're trying to
water
teach
sign
y'all. It's
energy.
all connected, y'all.
Absolutely. Okay, so that flows really nicely into the next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is a lot of the rest of this chapter focused on how whatever kind of elemental energy is really present in your chart can be really helpful in looking at whatever kinds of types of magic rituals that might be most suited to you. So I'm going to go through each one and just give like some examples and just talk a little bit about that. So they talked about fire magic, which you can imagine like fire energy. As we know, it's very masculine, it's very raw, it's very like impulsive and driven and all these things. Mm-hmm. So think about, obviously that's fire. So think about rituals involving fire, like I know a lot of people like to write things down or like and then burn them, or just like burning pictures and things that are no longer serving you or things that you would like to get rid of, and like all that. There is something very cleansing about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't go through every single one of these because there's like other things with like charging your crystals in the sunlight and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to talk about burning. Of course, like burning sage or like burning something is a cleansing ritual to purify a space.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Because I was just telling Christine, I was like, as I was telling the story off mic, I was like, okay, I have to save this for the podcast. And then she was like, just tell it again. I was like, okay, I will. Because I recently had an experience where I was like, I have to sage this fucking house. Like, I have to burn something. Not even necessarily sage, because I know saging is a closed practice. And so, like, I don't know enough about that. And, like, I'm like, I don't know what that means. But if it's sage that I grew, I feel fine about it. Anyway, whole thing.
Yes.
But burn something, open the windows, get that shit out, right? Is the whole point.
Yes.
So by now, I think most of our listeners know I recently like made a big life change and I moved, and so now I'm living with my best friend, and she's like also separating from a partner right now, and so he was living in the house that I was living in. It's like everything is cool, but like also sometimes you have to like cleanse a space after someone leaves. Not even that there's anything like bad there, but you just like have to make it a new energy.
Absolutely. Yes.
But we were like, we kept having things happen to us where we were like, this is the sign. If you needed a sign to cleanse the space, this is the sign. Namely, she's outside the other day and a bone just like falls out of the sky and like breaks an entire pot, and she was like, oh, that seems like maybe there's some weird energy here. Like, where did this come from? Things flying off the shelves. I had a whole paranormal activity moment the other night where like something flew off the top of the fridge, and I was like, nope, okay, this is it. Open all the windows. We have to burn some shit. Like,
yeah,
it's time.
Yeah, y'all have had some activity over there. I'm like, oh yeah, you definitely need to cleanse that. It's like,
yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Open all those windows up and burn some things up in there.
Yes, exactly.
Something is active.
Something. And it's, it's an old house. It's an old house. It was built in the 50s, so who knows?
Yeah.
Somebody might have died, just, I'm trying to be cool with everybody. Even the spirits.
We just want to, we just want to live in harmony with the spirits and whoever else. Yeah, just. Someone asked me this week about being stuck on Earth or something, like dying and being stuck on Earth, and I don't know, it was some just very, kids just have these random existential questions, and I'm like, well, hopefully, when you go, you will not be stuck here. Like, I hope you go wherever else there is.
Yeah.
Beyond this.
Wherever there else is to go. You don't have to go home, but you gotta get out of here.
Yes. They're just like, what do you mean heaven? You mean, and I'm like, well, I don't, I just wherever we go, I be trying to be so neutral about my conversation, and my kids are like,
right.
You mean God? You mean like they're trying to force me in one direction? I'm like, no, I just mean whatever you believe, baby. Like,
whatever you believe. I'm not making that decision for you, baby. Like, I'm really not.
If that's,
I'm not.
No, I'm not impressing any information, any beliefs on you. Like,
you're not going to catch me in a Title IX or whatever violation.
No, ma'am,
like,
no, sir. Like, nope. Like, whatever that is, whatever you think it means. Like, I don't know.
I'm being careful with my language,
like, nope.
Because words mean things. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, on that note, there's no transition there. So we're talking about the elements, right? Okay, so we talked about fire magic. We talked about different ways to, kind of work with fire magic. Moving forward onto kind of our earth signs. So we think of, the earth element as like very stable, permanence, like structure, a lot of things with the physical body and our material realm. So some different things, like I've been thinking a lot about, I like repotted a plant the other day. So like, doing things with your hands out in the dirt and all that. That's very like It's very earth sign energy, right?
Connect with the earth. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Also, one of them was using plants or stones to provide protection. And, like, obviously, like, a lot of people use crystals for, you know, different sorts of things. But I never really thought about using plants as, like, a protective little energy. It's all just, like, the intention that you put behind any, like, sort of physical object, I think. But I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. Make you a wall.
Yeah, you do just feel a lot more calm when there's plants around. I'm, like, kind of excited to start, like, rebuilding my plant collection a little bit, and I've got, like, a couple here and there. I just had some new growth on a plant that I hadn't seen, like, do anything in so long, because the lighting in here is really good, which has been lovely. I'm just like, oh my god, like, my plants are happy, I'm happy. I don't know, it's, you know, we'll see. We'll get there when we're back to, like, seasonal depression time. But it really does do something for you.
But this is the season, you know, and it's Taurus season, and that is, you know, in spring and things grow, and so, like, that is a connected energy. So, like, it makes sense that this is something that feels good. Like, you're like, oh, look at things growing. I feel the same way when things are growing. Look, I got my plant shirt on today.
Yes.
Like, I've been introducing my kids. Like, I'm going to be kind of sad, you know, to move my plants from my room at work because they really love those windows. Like, they are thriving.
Oh my gosh. So you showed me, before I moved, I gave Christine one of my plants that I was going to get rid of. And it's like 2 of them. Yeah. I forgot there was 2. Oh my gosh. I had to get rid of so many plants when I moved. And I still ended up with so many. It's crazy. Anyway, that's beside the point. But, like, that one plant is doing so well in there. I'm so happy. It's always nice when you, like, give your plants to somebody and then you see them, like, continuing to thrive and you're like, yes.
Because even, I mean, when I first took it, you know, I was, you know, it was in my old residence and it was further away from the window. So, I mean, it's kind of stayed the same for a while. But when I brought it to work and put in that window, and especially in the last, like, month or 2, I mean, it's just really, you know, of course, it's been growing, it's been getting a lot of light, it's been getting warmer, so, like, it's just really been popping up. I mean, just new sprouts all over, it just is, like, full and happy. It just, like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh my god, look at it, it's so great.
Yes.
And I think you gave me a ZZ plant as well, and it's got 2 little new sprouts coming up, and so I've been, like, showing the kids and, like, getting them, you know, like, interested in the plants and seeing the growth. So I've got, like, one plant that's its flower buds are about to pop open, so I've been, like, you know, showing the kids every day, like, oh, look, okay, we're almost there, like, you know, and so they get into it, you know, it's very cute. Yeah, we love this season.
We love it. Yeah, so if you're, like, you know, looking to do a little bit of, like, something that feels a little bit magical, just, like, plant a plant at this time of year, and, like, really, it does something for you for sure.
Yes.
So some other examples of things, like using kind of the earth element as, like, a magic starter point. Preparing and eating foods in a ritual setting, which, like, I don't know, I think eating doesn't have to be a ritual, but it always feels like one to me. Like, I give a lot of fucks about meals.
Come on, Cancer rising.
Right. But it is, it still kind of has that structure element that, like, is very earth energy. One of the other things that the book said, which I was like, I wouldn't have immediately thought of an earth sign, but also, like, that is kind of the ruler of, like, sort of the physical body, like, being grounded in your physical body. So, like, they definitely said, like, sex as, like, a magic act, you know, which, like, you know, sometimes that happens and you're like, yes, this does feel magical.
Look at you.
This feels, like, really meaningful, you know? And then it's sometimes it just does, sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, that was just whatever. It's not always like that, but sometimes when it hits, you know?
When it hits. Yeah, I know about that.
Anyway, all right, let me not.
Yeah, right. Right, we're moving on.
Moving it on.
We're not having
Okay,
sex
so
flashbacks
water.
at all.
I love a mid-show flashback. Someone put in like the dream sequence music right here,
Right.
like ooh, like that sound in cartoons where you always know they're headed to a dream. Like, yeah,
Right.
put that in right here, right? Anyway, so moving on to water. So obviously, you know, that's us, right? We're very go with the flow. Also very cleansing. All about kind of intuition and emotion. Very yang energy. Very healing. All that. So obviously this is something that I know I've talked about a million times. And I don't get to do as often right now as I used to, but like a ritual bath, I love a bathtub. Like,
yes.
even if it's like a tiny ass bathtub, like let me soak in it, okay? Like, it feels so luxurious every time.
Absolutely. I love a bath.
So another thing that's very like watery, or at least they kind of put under in this category, is like practicing dream work. Like, you know, I know we've talked a little bit about astral projection and your experiences with that in the past, which also feels like a very like Neptunian kind of Pisces thing.
Yes.
And really just in general, like, just like any sort of spiritual work is like sort of watery inherently, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I think that very much covers our... I mean, you know, I think Cancer gets less of the I don't think they get less of it, but they're less known for the intuitive, like that piece, or the spirituality piece, whereas like Scorpio and Pisces really are heavy in those areas.
Yes.
You know, we've got the 12th and the 8th house. But Cancer's, you know, also moon ruled, and so, you know, our emotions and, you know, all of that spirit is all connected as well. And so, our water signs are definitely our spiritual, you know, spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So then, of course, then lastly we have our air signs, or our air kind of rituals. So of course we think of, you know, air, there's a lot of talking involved, right? There's a lot of like communication, and like it's all about these like interpersonal exchanges. Sometimes it's a little detached, you know, 'cause you just think about what air does. It just kind of like, you know, moves through. So in that regard, a lot of like thinking about like visualizing something, or like, you know, sort of a more heady mercurial sort of exercise, right? You're just visualizing, you can see it. Chanting and singing is another big one. So anything that involves like any sort of evocation in that way. Another thing that they talked about was sigils, which I don't know a ton about, but our guest next week does them. So I'm like a little bit interested to ask. That is not the topic of the episode, but I'm also interested to ask him about that while he's here.
Yeah, like our divination tools. Yeah, I'm very interested in getting into sigils, like, and talking about them, because I don't work with them myself either, but I'm very interested in knowing more.
Yeah, so it'll be, that is, like I said, not our actual episode topic, but I'm sure we will kind of go there as well. It'll be interesting. We haven't had a ton of we've had a couple of like more spiritual practitioners as guests before, because we had Cosmic Cat. And then I also, you know, in a way, when we had our like first interview with Jane, that also does feel sort of like, you know, it is like she's taking the photos, but like it's still a spiritual practice, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so that's really all I have for book club this week. There was some other interesting stuff in this chapter that I didn't really get to this week, but we'll talk about some other time, about like what they called non-physical entities, and they were talking about like gnomes and stuff, and I was like, I don't know anything about this.
Interesting. Yeah, y'all, you gotta
gnomes
read.
and like non-physical, just little ambassadors for each sign, right? So that shit was interesting and funny to me, and I encourage everyone to go read it, check it out. If you're interested in more book club stuff, like, let us know. I like keep saying I'm gonna make a bonus episode about it, so anybody who is interested can like hang out over there. But you know, we'll get back to it. I hope you guys are enjoying the book. And I think we should get to this chart reading because I'm really excited about this. Hey, y'all.
Oh, that's right.
We're back. We didn't talk about it this time.
This is extra. I'm sorry. I assumed that we were in the meets too, and I forgot we came back for the chart reading.
Nope. It's all good. It's all good. You know what? Sometimes it's like that. Behind the scenes, baby. Right, we're breaking the fourth wall.
Pointing at each other. It's you. You. My bad, y'all.
Oh, man. Man. It's Christine, rate us this chart because I'm sure they feel really confident in us now.
Yes, they feel very confident. All right. No, we're good. So this week, thank you to another listener. We have a new chart from M. And M is a Pisces.
Yay!
Hey, Pisces
oh my god. Yes. Little Pisces fan club. I love it. Thank you.
We love it. So M is was born on March 17th, 1983 at 9:54 a.m. in the ATL. And so M has a Pisces sun, a Taurus moon, and I did note Taurus moon is at 0 degrees, and a Gemini ascendant also at 0 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
So let's take a quick note
I like this
here.
person.
Yes, right? Like, we've got some 0 degrees. So I just want to give you, a little note about 0 degrees. 0 degrees is considered a critical degree due to the karmic nature of being at the beginning of the sign. So you will be at the early learning stages of learning lessons in these areas. So if you think about your Taurus moon, so your moon being in Taurus, that emotional, that inner life energy. Of course, Taurus is also very inward sign, very what am I trying to say, introverted sign, working on self, our values, things like that. So all of that is very important. So those lessons in your life, you're going to be at those early stages of learning. So you may feel like there's some of those themes that are just very, very beginning for you. You might just feel like maybe you feel like other people know certain things, but it's like, I feel very much in the beginning of this. I don't know. But those are going to be early lessons for you. But also in that Gemini ascendant, right? So again, that ascendant, which is how we are presenting to others in a more private way, or more one-on-one, less public, because that would be our midheaven. So our ascendant, your ascendant in Gemini. So that ascendant that's going to give you more that air energy, a lot more communication, like how you're communicating with people, how your mind works. Like all of that is very much in your presentation to others. So again, those themes are going to be at the very early stages. So whatever those things look like, whatever those lessons for you in that area are, you're going to be at the early learning stages of those. So that's your 0 degree. So something to think about.
Okay.
M. So the next thing I looked for, I forgot to actually open up the chart. I also meant to link the chart, but I think last time I tried to do that, it didn't do it. So never mind.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I tried to be all, on top of it and link the chart so Shelby could see it, and then she tried to open it, and it was just her own stuff.
It didn't work.
So.
It's crazy, those cookies, those internet cookies, they're really working.
They're working. So, the next thing I looked for in your chart, Em, was stelliums. Because we know those are big energies, also big lessons kind of in life. We've got stelliums going on. So, there are 2 stelliums of note that I saw. The first is in your 11th house, which we know is your house where we find friends or like larger groups, organizations, your community, your service work as far as like your humanitarian work or like your work towards the larger whole versus the 6th house, which would be more individual service work. But that kind of energy. You've got your sun here, you have Mercury here, and you have Mars here. Now, your 11th house is split, so your sun and Mercury are in Pisces. Note, Mercury in Pisces. We talked about that just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yes, because that's not...
It's not a great place.
What's the word?
It's either detriment or it's fall, and I can't remember which one it was. It might be both. I think it was both. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So you might feel...
Go fact check us on our own episode.
Yeah. Right? We're like, what was that? Yes. So you do have that Mercury and Sun in Pisces in your 11th house. So you might feel like that... You may feel like that's not as much of a struggle because your sun is linked and it is, I believe, conjunct. Yes. Now, it is conjunct, but it is conjunct at the widest orb that it can be conjunct, which is 8 degrees. So that's a very wide orb of conjunction. So... it's the stronger, the closer the conjunction, obviously the stronger the energy. So that conjunction is not real strong. So you probably still are going to feel a little bit like this could be a weak area for you. So thinking about that 11th house, thinking about how you communicate or how you think or how you're perceived or your communication is perceived by a wider group or by organizations, that might not feel like your strongest area, just because it's in Pisces. And we know that is just not great energy for Mercury. Mercury does not love being in Pisces.
Doesn't love it. Doesn't love
it. And, hopefully that doesn't cause too many problems for you, Em. But it might be a challenge area. So something to note. Now, the other part of your 11th house is actually split with Aries. So your Mars is in Aries. Now, this it does love.
Spicy.
Yeah. Mars and Aries
yeah, it loves that.
Good friends, right?
That's a great placement.
Mars is at home in Aries. And so it's interesting, in your 11th house, you've got a planet in detriment and fall, and then you have a planet that is in domicile.
I want to hear more. I want to interview you. Like, what is that like?
Tell us,
it's so weird. Oh my God.
Because there are some things later in here that, I think we will jump into that's some interesting energy. And I would love to hear, if you feel like sharing back. If anything connected, I would love to hear about that. So that's your 11th house stellium. You also have a 12th house stellium, which includes your Venus, which is in Aries. Hello, Aries Venus. So also, Aries Venus and Mars.
Okay. Ooh, so sexy.
It's very sexy.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes. And having, I mean, Mars and Venus, but they're not. I'm trying to find them on the chart. No, okay, they're not conjunct. Now, having a Mars and Venus conjunction is a pretty powerful conjunction as well. But these are not conjunct, but they are in the same sign. So we've got those. You also have the moon is in your 12th house, and Chiron, and those are both in Taurus. So, if you remember, I think last week we talked a little bit in the last chart when we have those split houses or those split signs. It makes the it makes the energy a little bit weaker, but it's still there.
Yes.
There's still the stellium,
Yes.
but it's just a little bit weaker when it's split between different energies. So in both of these cases, you've got the 11th house split between Pisces and Aries. And then the 12th house, you've got it split between Aries and Taurus. I think my chart is very similar, and so understood. So think about those areas. You've got some concentrations of energy in your 11th house and also your 12th house where you've got spiritual things. So you might have some psychic things going on. You got the moon, you got Venus there.
Ooh.
They are conjunct. And then you've got Chiron hanging out kind of towards the bottom of the 12th house at 23 degrees. So that's, our healing energy. There may be an area where there have been wounds in your life, and that is a space where you're healing. So that is happening in your 12th house. Okay, so I also wanted to jump into your north node, south node, since we talked about our lunar nodes last week.
We were just talking about that. Yes, perfect.
And we've got some interesting node energy here. We've got your north node in Gemini at 29 degrees, which is another degree of note. If you go back to our Z's Get Degrees, Zodiacs Get Degrees episode, we get into those degrees and what those mean. The 29th degree is a Leo degree. So whatever is happening with that degree energy is going to give us a little more flavoring of Leo on top of that. So if we remember, our north node is the energy where we are growing towards. It is that destined energy. And M, you were born in 1983, and so that puts you right at 40. Which is...
Ooh, it's time.
It's that time where that really starts to activate. So you may have been feeling this, for the last couple of years or so. Again, we've got shadow, if you will, or just, energy is energy, right? So it's not like, on this exact date and time. I mean, there is exact date and time, but the energy is not only at that one moment. Of course, it's spread. So you may have been feeling this already, moving into this energy. Moving into your north node. Again, it is in Gemini, which is also your ascendant.
Yes.
And so, all of that energy is moving in the same direction. I have a similar, my ascendant and my north node are also in the same sign. They're in Taurus. So I'm like, that. It's nice when that energy aligns. So you know where you're going towards. But that's also it's like your front-facing energy anyway. So you're just moving in that direction. I was going to say, yeah.
It almost feels like you're showing up more authentically as yourself to other people.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, yes. I like that.
And so this is at 29 degrees again. So Leo energy. So coming out, right, with that. Coming out with it. So that also makes your south node Sag. And of course, because this is an axis, it is also at 29 degrees. And so your south node, I also put a little note in here. Your south node is conjunct to Neptune, and they are exact at 29 degrees. So tying in that conjunction, I'm like, where did I write about that? Or did I? Maybe I just made a note about it. Yeah, I think I just made a note. about those being conjunct, but thinking about, again, that energy that you're growing from, and that being conjunct with your Neptune, the planet of Neptune, and those
Right.
are, like, where did I just put or not put them, but trying to look for it real quick. Neptune, oh yeah, okay, in your 8th house. So a lot of spiritual energy. I think you probably have some some abilities. Definitely.
Which is, it's so interesting because in the email, M said that they were like kind of newer to astrology, which is why they started listening to the podcast. And I was now, like, hearing this chart, I'm like, really? Like, this is like, but I guess you're kind of like moving more in that direction. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, showing up more authentically as yourself. You're like letting yourself kind of explore,
Connecting,
astrology and things like this. But I'm glad it's resonating. Like,
yes,
that's great.
This is good. So I'm gonna quickly touch some of these conjunctions. I'm sorry, y'all. I make so many notes when I do these readings because I get all into it. Then I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time to get into all of this. So I will actually get you the notes of the things, especially that I don't get into. But don't, like, hold me to any time frame on that.
Right.
But I will get those to you soon. So I did see some conjunctions. You've got a little bit of a stellium in your 6th house, but it's with, like, the vertex, so I didn't put that as a stellium. But technically there's a stellium in your 6th house as well with Saturn, Pluto, and your vertex. So you've got Saturn conjunct with Pluto and the vertex. So with this is also in the 6th house, so this is either where you find, like, work things or more about your health, which this makes me think this could have been health related, but feel it out if this was a work thing or something that happened more as a work thing. Let me know, but it feels like this energy gives me this could be health stuff. So with the Saturn conjunct Pluto and your vertex, you may have experienced some hardship earlier in your life. So that vertex gives us fated events. So this is also what gives me, like, this could have been health events.
Yeah. Nothing scarier than a life or death situation,
right?
Like,
yeah, right. Like some kind of thing like that. You also may have had strict or overly strict parents, or a lot of restrictions earlier in childhood that seem to shape you, and you might have had to grow up very quickly.
Which that might make sense to why, like, you got into some of this kind of some of these kind of topics later in life,
Yes.
Not that, I mean, 40 is still very early in life, but, like, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like all the kids are into astrology these days or whatever.
Not the kids, yes. But yeah, it's come back around and people are finding connection with it. And I think as people are searching for things to help them understand themselves and, like, healing, I think they are connecting with, like, these practices like astrology.
It's just so much more widely accepted,
Yeah. So you may have learned, patience, self-reliance, resourcefulness is due to those earlier experiences. So Saturn is going to give us some hardships, right? Like things we have to learn from, things that shape us. And then Pluto, of course, isn't always a good time.
Right.
Saturn and Pluto getting together.
Usually not.
Usually not a great time. I also think fun. I have some of those. I think I might have a Saturn Pluto connection in my chart.
We've definitely talked about it on the podcast before, and I can't remember. Yeah.
I think mine's in the 7th house, and so just a little further up. But definitely, some things happening. So I get it. So touching back on your Sun in conjunction with Mercury, typically this is a good thing, right? Your
Yes,
sun,
right.
being in alignment with the way you think, the way you speak, the way you communicate, being in conjunction with, in alignment with your core. Those are good. Those are good
Yeah,
things. Um, but
absolutely.
again, being in Pisces gives it a slight disadvantage, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yes.
curious just to know, I mean, how well you feel like you assert yourself in. Um, because I feel like that's a big thing with like Pisces Mercury. Like you might have
Mm-hmm.
things to say, you might want to say things, but you tend to be more passive. I understand. I don't have the Mercury, but I definitely have the Sun, Moon, and 12th house stellium, and I get that
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Right.
um, but you could be a talker. Self
Yes.
expression, could be strong. You might have a natural curiosity about yourself. Um, you've got a moon conjunct Venus, which makes you very loving and caring and charming, well liked. You might love being in love. I actually saw several aspects in this chart that lean towards love being in love, your romantic relationship or your
Okay,
partner, very
but
important
who
to
doesn't
you.
love being in love?
Right. Well, I mean, but some,
Right?
some signs not as much. Now, look, Aquarius don't love being loved.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm also that Pisces energy in me is like, yay,
Who
love. I
doesn't?
believe
Right.
in
We
true
love. Right.
love.
We love. Right. That's something for
I
us to say.
love
Who doesn't
love.
love being
I'm
loved?
always like, follow your heart.
Right. Exactly. So listen, who we're talking to. Us.
Yeah.
But
Us. Okay.
I mean, yes, to some extent, yeah. Who doesn't love it? Like, I mean, love feels great. Um, but there are
Yeah.
several aspects in this chart that are like your relationship is very important to you. Um, like
Yes.
having that romantic relationship is very important to you. Um, and so this moon conjunct Venus, I mean, we think about those energies again together, of course, our emotions, love,
Mm-hmm.
that attachment, like the loving and the caring and the harmonizing. All of that is very important to you. But this also makes friends very easy for you. So you might be, again, very well liked.
Yeah.
Making
Totally.
friends might tend to come a little more easy. And
I'm saying, I bet you're popular. I'm like, I want to be friends with you. I feel like you're fun to be around.
yes, yes.
I feel like we'd
Um,
vibe.
yeah. Now another. Oh, that was more on the moon and Venus. I mean, so there's, I mean, strong maternal instincts. We know that. It also says you may have had a warm relationship with your mother or other women in your family. So something is a question for you. Do you have that strong connection with women in your family or your mom? You might like gardening and animals and plants. You might have an eye for decorating and fashion. Again, we're getting into that Taurus energy. Entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
You might like to have your people around, and
Mm-hmm.
just love on them and lavish on them. So that's all of that energy. We love a moon conjunction with Venus. Like, again, these are interesting as a conjunction too because the moon is in Taurus, Venus is in Aries. So you still got a little different
Mm-hmm.
energy, but they're mingling together and making it work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so they're having a good time. I am. Oh, okay. I'm running. I'm running along. Okay. I'm gonna give you this last conjunction, and then I'll give you your oppositions, which are interesting, but also might be kind of good for more private reading. Um, so the last conjunction on here is Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and this is in
Hmm.
Sagittarius at a 1 degree difference. So this is a very
Hmm.
tight conjunction, and this is in the
Okay.
seventh house.
Hmm.
So again, this is where we find our long-term partnerships and relationships. Um,
Oh.
so we've got Uranus here, which is always, again, interesting. So we've got that rebellion, like that need to be different. We know Uranus is, again, our ruler of Aquarius. So we've got that just
weirdo energy.
Gotta want to be eccentric, want to be different, gotta do it just a little bit differently, right? We've got that energy in conjunction, a very tight conjunction with Jupiter, which just makes everything bigger, right? We just blow it up.
Right.
So whatever this energy is, it's big. So you might feel a need to be free of restrictions within your relationships. This might, affect how you engage in those long-term relationships. You might need to follow your own path here. Then we think about this, adding on top the Sagittarius energy, of course. More freedom-loving, more don't really want to be tied down. So I'm really curious about how
chaos.
I'm very curious on how this plays out in your relationship, because again, there were several aspects that say that your intimate relationships and your romantic relationships are very important for you. So I'm interested, and of course that doesn't mean that this doesn't work. It just means that you might have a different setup for your relationship. But there's some very I want to just do my own thing kind of energy happening in your 7th house. So I'm just, I'm curious for how that works for you. And we know that you've got that Aries Venus and the Mars over there.
Right.
So the sexual energy.
So sexy.
High, and then we've got some doing some different things in the 7th house. So I'm it sounds like you're having a good time. And, we're here for that. And you're a Pisces. So, we're here for it.
And you're a Pisces. Oh my God. My fave.
But you might be a little restless in the 7th house. I'm curious about how that looks for you. Because you're always going to have that need to have something new and original. And that just it might make it a little hard to have structure and routine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I as a Pisces, it feels like kind of a now lifelong struggle for me.
It does. It does. It's will I ever find stability? That's why my North Node is in Taurus. Because we will be finding stability.
And mine is in Capricorn, so we're working on it. We're working on it.
That's why we're here together, girl. It's a whole journey.
Right. We'll figure it out together eventually.
We'll figure it out. Yes. Well, Em, I hope you got a little something from this, and I will send you these notes and the rest that I didn't get to. But I hope you got a little something from this chart reading. We're going to take another break. We're going to come back with some fun meets. Ooh.
Fun meets. We love a fun meet.
Love a fun meet.
Okay. And on that note, we'll be right back, y'all. Hey, y'all. Welcome back.
Hey, we got some meats. We got some fun meats.
We got some meats. Some fun meats. Yeah. So I think it'll be pretty short and sweet this week because it's a Shelby produced episode. So it's, it's not a lot. And you know what? We had a lot of very thick, meaty meats in the relatable content. We did a whole chart reading. We checked in on the book club. We had transits. We're going to just give you something light. Think of this as a prefix menu, but you're at the last course, but it's a small one. So you can still do it.
Yeah. You still got a little bit left in you.
Yes. So, honestly, this would have been a good episode to drink. And of course I didn't. I'm just, indulging in my other Pisces vices tonight. But we're talking about zodiacs in their villain era.
Yeah, we love a villain era. Come on, hey.
It's demon time.
Demon time.
Right now. Okay?
It's my time.
So everybody,
That's my kind of time.
Yeah. We're on demon time. Man, I feel like that's an expression I've been using a lot more of late.
Mm-hmm. Seeing them pictures because, with the horns.
I feel like I've been on Demon Time a lot more often lately because it's, it's a little hot girl summer for me,
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm on Demon Time. I'm doing dangerous stuff. Although now that, as we talked about earlier, I'm getting my shit together. Like, things are feeling a little more together right now than they were probably a couple weeks ago. But it has been a Demon Time era for the last, I don't know, couple months.
Hey, we're not mad about it.
Okay, so I thought this was really interesting. I just was like doing a little fun Googling because this is going to be a pretty light episode. But I was like, where did that come from? Because I just heard, you just started hearing people say, oh, I'm in my villain era.
Right.
Like, it's very Gen Z, like, yeah, I hear it on TikTok all the time. Like, and now it's kind of being co-opted. But obviously we're talking about it on this podcast. But like, I hear it all the time. Do you remember the first time you ever heard someone say they were in their villain era?
I feel like hearing people talk about it more has happened more recently, but I also feel like I started hearing like this connection with, we have this like fascination with like Disney and like princesses and things like that, but then there started to be this shift to this fascination with the villains. And not just even Disney, but, within other, structures, like Marvel or whatever. There's like this real fascination and want to understand the villains. And then people like, actually, I kind of relate with this person over here. And not this princess character. I actually relate to this. So, like, I feel like that kind of was the precursor to the villain era movement that we have now. This is just my current thinking, so.
No. Okay, so you've got me. Okay, I didn't talk about this in any of my research, but now that you say it really made me think. I follow a couple of, again, it's TikTok, so who knows if anything is a reliable source, but I follow a couple people who are like trend forecasters, and it started with like, okay, they're forecasting what fashion is going to look like based off what's coming off runways right now, because usually like things are a few years behind, and so they're like, okay, what kind of direction are we headed? But there's this one woman I follow, and I wish I could remember. If I think of it, I'll put it in the notes later. But she just forecasts like bigger trends, not just clothing choices, but things that are reflected in just like cultural trends.
Yes.
And she was talking a lot about like the rise of like the chaotic, like I always am like, oh, I'm in my feral rat girl. I'm a little feral rat girl. Like,
exactly
just like chaos, grunge, like very grungy. It's like a reversion back to, you could kind of say the 90s. When like grunge was very popular, and that kind of like everything was just like a little dirtier, because we are just coming off of this trend of the clean girl aesthetic, and like everything being just so, and like these lifestyle influencers, and I think people are kind of like, that got so popular that people are kind of rebelling against that right now as a cultural shift. And I'm here for it. For it because that kind of aesthetic, like you see it over and over again on social media, and you like, it just implores more of like the like, oh my god, why is my life not like that? I feel like my life is so big and so messy, and like, I just think that is like a whole theme of my life right now, is just like embracing messiness and just being okay with it, and just being like, that's just what it is. That's reality. Like, I don't know. I love it. Anyway, that was a hard tangent, but like, what a start. What a start to the Zodiac villain era's conversation.
Right. Like, but think about even how the princess aesthetic, ties in with that kind of clean girl, like, it's got to be just so...
Yes.
We've got some other princesses.
Trust fund babies.
Yeah, like, think about that whole thing, It's like most of us don't look like that, so most of us do kind of resemble some of our villains, right? Like, we got traumas and stuff, like, life ain't perfect over here, like, we got some darkness, We got some shadows happening. So
life ain't been no crystal stair, okay?
Listen. So we might
crystal
be a
shoe
little
or whatever.
Over here, you know, we might.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, the villains aren't even evil; they're just misunderstood.
They're just misunderstood.
You know,
they're hurt, they're wounded, they've had trauma.
Yes, exactly. So that's really interesting because I think it's a cultural trend in general to kind of embrace your villainous side, like kind of get to, you know, okay, I've been hearing this a lot and I can't remember if I said it last week or not, but like the idea of kind, not nice.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, ultimately, the villains or the people that you think are like the bad guys are actually like very kind and they're trying to do something good, but maybe they're doing it in a not very nice way or like a way that makes other people uncomfortable or whatever, you know?
Yes, forcing their kindness and doing like just not being their best
exactly.
selves.
So I did do like again, we're gonna keep it light because this is just like a funny conversation, but I did like I like typed in, you know, zodiac villain era just to kind of see what came up, and there was an astrologer on Twitter that I follow, the Witch Astrologer, aka Astro Eleanor. So I got a lot of research, or not, I don't know if you'd call it research, but she had the take that like she had an article on her feed called actually let me just look it up really quick so I don't say it wrong, but like I think zodiac signs who will enter their villain era this year and why. And you know, this year being 2023, obviously it's pretty late in the year, so if you're like going through a villain era year, like you probably know that by now. I certainly am.
Yes.
But the placements that I'll talk a little bit more about what she means by villain era here in a little bit, but the placements that she talked most about were Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Gemini entering their villain era in 2023.
Okay.
So the reason that she is positing that these signs will enter their villain era this year is because Saturn, the planet of sacrifice, resilience, and boundaries, will heavily impact you in some way. This year marks the beginning of your villain origin story. And then we'll kind of get into here in a little bit, like where Saturn shows up in all these placements this year, and you know why that feels, and why Saturn kind of feels like. I mean, you know, we talk about Saturn all the time. It's Daddy Saturn, right?
Look,
It's here to teach you lessons.
Pulling up my chart because I'm like, really. So I'm noticing this is all of our mutable signs. So that's all of us having a villain era. So I'm like, how does Saturn? And let me go look at Saturn in my chart. But while you're talking, I'm like, I'm just pulling it up.
Yes, because I want to talk about it. So first of all, here's what so a villain era, like I just kind of got a general definition for what like people, in case you've never heard that term before, in case you're not chronically online and you don't hear that term all the time, to the point where it's, you know, I'm sure as people are like really using it a lot. But a villain era was a term that was kind of popularized by this one TikTok user is credited for it, so I'll give them credit because that's what I got from the article I was reading. But TikTok user, I think it's Padzday, so it's Padzdey. But anyway, the term means like a shift in a person's thinking as they, quote, renounce the pressure to strive for the validation of others. So someone entering their villain era is like, I'm not looking for outside validation. I'm good. Like, I feel very confident in myself. I don't need a Prince Charming for your, you know, your all that. I don't need someone to come save me. I'm good.
Yes.
Which I really like, you know?
We love that. Yes, independence.
But in this witch astrologer feed, she was talking about, she kind of defined a villain era as like, you know, you're really owning your power. You're not letting other people walk all over you. you're becoming wiser.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, honoring your anger, not being scared of it, like, oh, okay, so this one I thought was funny, but, like, not being afraid of getting revenge if someone wrongs you, and we were talking about you and your dark feminine era a couple weeks ago, right?
Ooh,
like,
yes, with the war
get
water.
your lick back. Yes, exactly. 'Cause Christine's getting her licks back this year. She's in that villain era for sure.
Sound like I need to sit down somewhere. But, you know...
But the other thing they talked about was getting in touch with your shadow and like kind of doing some of your shadow work, so you're very self-aware. And for anybody who doesn't know, I went and looked up the episode, but we did an episode 18 about shadow work. We kind of got into the psychology bag, and I really like that one, so go back and check that out if you want to know more about that specifically. But yeah, so anyway, so I don't know, do you have any other ideas of like what comes to mind for you when people say villain era? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with all of that. I think especially, we think about the funny parts of the villain era really is like owning our power, doing the things that we want to be doing anyway, you know.
Right.
So it's funny, especially, you know, for people like Pisces, like we're like, I'm in my villain era, and it's really just like, oh, you're just really like asserting yourself and like, you know.
You're finally saying what you want? Oh my God, okay.
Speaking up for yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Saying no, whatever.
Oh
you
okay.
know, just doing all those
The
things.
fastest tangent.
Yeah.
I went into a restaurant the other day, and I think I said this, I might have said this story on the podcast already, so sorry if I have, but I went into a restaurant, and they were like, where would you like to sit? And I said, well, I would like to sit on the patio outside with an umbrella if you have one. And the guy was like, oh, okay, you know what you want. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just saying the thing that I want. It's just like, right. That's like me, a Pisces, saying like, oh, I'm in my villain era. Like, you asked me a question and I answered it.
Right, and I answered it.
I wasn't
and then
like...
his response was still like,
oh, wherever.
Oh, you know what you want. Like, yes, I do.
Yeah, I do. It's annoying. Anyway, sorry. It just made me think of that.
But yeah, I mean, it really is a lot of times just kind of us doing the things we should do for ourselves that it feels hard sometimes to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just being in your villain era, it's usually kind of a sarcastic thing even. Like, yeah, I'm in my villain era. I'm just, you know, telling people, you know, what I think about, you know, whatever. Speaking up for myself.
Right.
Not just biting my tongue all the time.
Yes. More of that in the world, please. We love clear, direct communication.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about why she said that, you know, these signs will be going through this transit. So as we said, it's because there's some heavy like Saturn activity, right? So starting on March 7th, which is again like a little later in the year, but Saturn obviously moves into Pisces, and so all mutable signs will be affected by this transit because Saturn will form a hard aspect to each of them. So, let's see. There's another part of this article that I wanted to read just a little bit. So, I'm going to talk specifically. I'm going to read kind of the whole thing for Pisces because we're Pisces and this is the Pisces podcast. But if anyone is interested in knowing more about this, like, send me a message. We can post a link to it on the link tree this week and in the episode description if you want to hear more. But for us, the sun in Pisces, so this the witch astrologer's prediction is that we will go through a period where perseverance, hard work, and heavy responsibility will be our main focus. There's a great potential for you to be rewarded for your tangible efforts, so that's something to look forward to.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind is that if one of your endeavors does not work out as expected, it should not be regarded as a complete failure. Don't be afraid to try again. You'll be humbled, but it's important for you to not give up. Additionally, before beginning a new course of action, make sure you've cleared up anything that didn't work out. Some good advice. You'll soon figure out that your time is precious. Saturn will make it almost too obvious. This realization will prompt you to be more selective with who you give your time to, essentially, or to whom you give your time. As a result, you might feel alone and isolated, but being alone will allow you to find yourself. We were just having a conversation about alone time just a second ago.
Yes, wow.
Is this resonating for you?
Is.
Let's see. If a chapter in your life ends during this time, such as a relationship or a job, it indicates that it didn't sit on solid foundations and was keeping you from taking care of your real priorities. Saturn's message is that your energy should be focused at this time, not scattered left and right.
We're going to see how that plays out. That's very interesting.
Isn't it? I really liked this. I liked her interpretation quite a bit. It was it resonated for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's Sun in Pisces. Let's see. There's also she wrote a little blurb about the moon in Pisces, if you would like me to read that as well.
Yeah, what? I mean, look, it's gonna conjunct both of those for me. Saturn is gonna conjunct.
That's why I'm like, do you want to hear it? Let's hear it.
Sure.
Yeah, and any other Pisces moons. Okay, so moon conjunct Saturn. You'll start feeling inclined to dive into in-depth self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-criticism. Too much thinking could lead you to feel isolated from the world. Your mental and physical health will be significantly impacted by how you handle this transit in the future. Saturn is a symbol of your perception of reality and your place in it. You'll grasp a sense of who you are and how you differ from others. This could lead you to become quite self-critical and demanding when you measure yourself against the ideal version of yourself. Remember that comparison is the thief of joy. Oh my God, yeah. We literally all need to hear that all the time.
All the time.
Wanting more for yourself is amazing, but there's a fine line between beating yourself up and motivating yourself. Be careful not to cross it.
Okay. Hey. Look, I got some things to ponder on. I picked up my journal again last night after several weeks. I mean, it's probably been a couple months. No, it was, because I looked
It's about
at the
time
last
for me to
date,
do that, too.
and it was in March. And so, look, I'm in the energy, look.
Okay.
I'm in that self-reflective. Yeah, let's pick this back up again.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because mine is like sitting right here, and it's been on this table, and I have not written in it once since I moved in here, and I'm like, I have so much to get out right now. Like, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, so yeah, that was just a little bit about, like, why this one particular astrologer kind of posited that all these mutable signs are entering their villain era. Thank you to Saturn. So yeah, I really appreciated that. What do you think, Christine? Do you feel like that you have entered a villain era this year?
Ooh.
On a scale of 1 to Maleficent.
Ooh.
What are you?
I mean, I never really feel like I'm a villain, but I think I've been more of a villain in the last several months to maybe other people. I still don't consider myself a villain, but I guess I was anti whatever they had going on. So I guess that made me a villain.
setting a boundary and wanting more for yourself really makes a lot of people mad,
You
and I
know?
think that's why it's appropriate to call this a villain era, right?
Villain
Like
era.
sometimes you just do that stuff and people don't like it, and that doesn't mean it's not still the right thing to do.
We're not taking no shit, and it's just, it
We're
is
not.
what it is.
Look, don't start none, won't be none.
Won't be no water
Okay.
on your doorstep. Won't be, like.
Not if Christine has anything to do with it, Don't wrong her, okay?
Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. That's what I'm about to go into full hermit mode. Like, I'm just gonna be to myself.
Right. I'm ready for it.
I don't.
There was that little horoscope I just read is like it's a lot of isolation this year.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it kept saying, isolation. I was like, oh, okay.
Listen, I can be over here in my little apartment, okay? Like, I'll be fine. Like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. That's very interesting. I'm like, it could manifest in any kind of way, but really, like, where it's hitting me right now, I'm like, okay. All right, well, I'm preparing myself, so.
Right. Feel that.
But it also could be an ending of a job, and we're kind of hoping that happens.
Right. Yeah. I kind of do feel, I don't know. I literally just said earlier in the episode, and I think a couple weeks ago, like, I've been on this, like, real kind but not nice thing. And again, like, setting a boundary with other people, or, like, wanting more for yourself, or, like, only keeping people in your life that are, like, really there to support you and, like, aren't with all the other shit. Like, it does kind of feel like a villain era sometimes.
Yeah. It's like, well, I've been accepting these things. It's growth, right? It's like I've been accepting these things. I've been doing these things. And I recognize that this isn't good for me. So I'm taking I'm taking that power back, or I'm owning that power. I'm setting those boundaries. And now that I'm doing those things, it's like, oh, okay, I've got to buck it up a little bit. It's like, oh, I'm in my villain era. But it's like, well, really, I'm just, again, taking care of myself, standing up for myself, doing the things that really are the best for me. But because I've been accepting less, or not having my, having my own back, or having my own boundaries, it feels like I'm being the bad guy now that I'm doing those things.
I'm the bad guy.
I'm the bad guy.
The bad guy. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes. You can't, at some point in your life, you're always going to be the bad guy in somebody's story. And it's like, sometimes that's okay. And sometimes it's not necessary to, like, really try and change people's perception of that. Sometimes, that's not the right thing to do. It's not all about, like, manipulating other people's opinions of you. You can just be, and they can just be, and that can just be what it is,
Absolutely. Because, honestly, at some point or another in your life, you will be the villain in someone's story. You are going to be the person that wronged someone in some way, shape, or form. And
even if you really didn't objectively, like, it doesn't matter. Sometimes that's just how people are going to feel, and, like,
that
again,
perception.
It's not your job to change it.
You just have to accept that. Yep. Because we're not even supposed to be worried about what other people think about us anyway. But, of course we do. But we're supposed to be working on that. But yeah, we just, it happens. The point is that we, try to be better and grow. And so, in our growth, hopefully, we're less of the villain, real villains to people, doing harm to other people, not actually just taking up for ourselves and setting boundaries. But, hopefully in that growth, we do less harm to others and actually are being villains in their lives.
Exactly. So yeah, if you guys are, any of these mutable signs, also check your sun, moon, rising, because if you're, yeah, if you are any of those mutable signs or have any of that mutable energy, there's a good chance that Saturn will be affecting you this year, and that you'll feel it, and that you are entering a villain era as well. Also, if you are listening to this podcast and maybe you don't necessarily feel comfortable sending us your entire birth chart or all of your birth information, totally get that. But just send us a little blurb. Do you feel like you're in a villain era this year? Do you, what are you going through? How's it manifesting for you? What does it mean to you? And how long do you stay in your villain era? Once you're in it, do you never leave? Are you just there forever? Is it an ebb and a flow? Like, if you had a villain era at some other point in your life when Saturn was heavy in your chart, and you're like coming out of it now, tell us about it. Like, how did that go for you?
We want to know. Yeah, tell us
All
more
that.
about your charts and your questions. If you've got specific questions about your chart, or about just things happening. Yeah, things happening for you, and you want to see maybe how it's breaking out in your chart, or where we can find that. Maybe where we can find some understanding in your chart. Send those on, people.
Absolutely. We love it.
Do we want to roll into, if we just keep rolling into the end, or?
Let's do it. Do you have a little horoscope for us?
So we don't have a horoscope this week.
Oh, okay. All right, there we go. Never mind. So yeah, let's roll on out of here. Oh my God, great timing. I love it.
Just roll on.
I love it.
We were talking about, emailing us or sending us your chart information. People, if you enjoyed these chart readings, if you would like your own chart reading, if you have, questions again about things going on with you, maybe they're current, we can look at your transits. Maybe you want to know something about your North Node. Maybe you just want to look at your chart and understand more of what you're seeing when you look at it. Send us your questions. People will assist in some answers. Send those questions, send that information to suchapiscespod@gmail.com. And that is spelled SUCHAPISCESPOD@gmail.com.
You can also find us. There was such a long delay right there. I'll have to make sure that still works out, but I think I'm in the right spot. You can also find us at Such a Pisces Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course TikTok. I will try to get around to posting a few more TikToks. I've had a few good hits, but I'm bad at being consistent. But still find us on those places. Send us an email, like Christine said. We want to hear from you. We love it. It also just lets us know that you're listening, which I think is really cool, and it makes us feel like we're really doing this for somebody, and people get a lot out of it. So yeah, we love that.
Yes.
If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. Give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend to tell a friend about the pod.
Yes.
And
and if you're on Spotify, remember, pay attention to those
take the
show
polls.
pages. Take our polls.
Yeah.
Answer little questions. I'll try to think of some more fun things to put in there. But yeah, check out our little additional things and engage with us there.
We'd love it. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. More of that, please. Otherwise, thank you for listening this far. Have a great week. Enjoy getting your shit together with these Taurus placements.
Yes.
And I guess we'll see y'all next time.
See y'all, people. You stay safe out here in these streets and protect your energy.
Bye.
Bye.